So first off, Riley, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Both Riley and I are in Saskatchewan, so we're coming at you guys at 8 o'clock in the morning here. Super excited for this session, Riley. Just to give you guys a quick little intro, my name is Kelly Lohner. I am on the Advisory Council for Fertility Matters Canada. This week is Canadian Infertility Awareness Week. We've had a crazy busy week. We're kind of starting to wind things down now. Tomorrow is our official last day. Really looking forward to Riley doing this session here with us this morning. Riley's going to talk to us about practicing self-acceptance, which is such a huge topic for us here in the fertility world. I do see we have people live here on Facebook. So Riley, whenever you are ready, take it away.
Awesome. Okay. Well, and as per the dog conversation, you might hear mine try to get a little vocal in the background. So, just ignore her. She'll be fine. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so that we can look at the slides together. I know when you're doing this kind of thing, it's just really nice to have just an opportunity to see what it is that you're actually learning and have something to look at. So what I thought we could do today is just really use this time to come together and focus on obviously a very broad topic, but I've kind of tried to keep it generalized while also still being a little bit more specific to maybe some of the things that people are going through that are going to be watching either live or later today. So what we're going to go through today is just sort of this holistic approach of how we can kind of come into this deeper self-acceptance. And what I always refer to as a practice of belonging to ourself as a whole. And so there are three aspects of that. Some people could say mind, body, spirit. Of course, we're going to go through the emotional body. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our inner roommates, energy in the body, and then how the emotional aspects of things that we move through in our life in general just affect our relationships. I'm going to talk into the physical body. So I want to talk about this vessel, this beautiful body that we have. I'm going to talk a little bit about connecting the energy centers, and I'm actually going to take you guys through a brief energy healing practice. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the spiritual body as well. So I really generalize this, but I want to speak to a little bit of the universal possibilities that are out there that we can really tune into, as well as our inner trust, and then really kind of cultivating and embodying that love within. So where I come from all the time is I am a large proponent for the fact that everything is energy. So what I'm sharing with you today really is coming from this space of utilizing our personal power in terms of our energy, and then also how we interact externally with the energy in the outer world. So obviously there's a lot of depth to that and impossible for me to cover in an hour. But what we are going to do is just really kind of come together. And I wanted to note a few things that I feel are really important first. So I'm here to just share openly. Like I said, I've really generalized this so that it can really be applicable to most cases and scenarios of people who are going to be observing this either live or later. And as I mentioned, I'm here to really just share these energy practices and general emotional and mental well-being. And none of what I'm sharing today is by any way meant to discount anybody's personal journey, or their feelings or their beliefs. And my intention really is to just invite whoever's watching to really open up your heart to new possibilities, or maybe even potentially experience a slight perception shift in some things that we're going to talk about today that you actually might already be familiar with. I am definitely not here to discount or replace any advice of any personal medical doctors or specialists. I'm really just here to share from the space of my heart and my soul and speak more to the energetic component of how we can participate with our lives. And as I said, this is a really tiny snippet of the teachings that I share and that I coach my clients on, healing the core wounds that really are the things that most affect our day-to-day life, our behavior, our thoughts, and our feelings. This really takes a lot of time to go through, and often a guide to really kind of support you in that way in a safe environment. So if you're looking to go more into this type of work, or maybe you are going to take the next step in what you're already practicing, I really want to encourage you, not that it needs to be somebody like myself, but, whether that is, a narrative therapist or something like that, that you can really go to for support as you work through. The deepest, kind of most emotional parts of ourself, in terms of our humanness, I believe we just really want to be loved and feel loved. We want to feel connection to people around us, and we want to feel accepted, right? And when we experience the opposition of that, through things that we experience in life, maybe through our peers, the people that we interact with, sometimes even our partners, our closest friends, we really begin to feel that some of these parts of ourselves aren't good, right? They feel bad because we don't deem them as good. And then we feel bad and we just want to feel better. So we start to do this thing that is referred to as like fragmenting. We kind of tuck and hide these little bits and pieces of ourselves away, from the world. And we become these are our unloved parts, they become these things that we've kind of disconnected from, that really might be actually a part of us that carry a lot of shame, or guilt, parts of us that have felt rejection, maybe fear of exposure. What if they find out who I really am, and then we form our behavior around trying to keep those things hidden. And self-worth really is this internal state of being that comes from three things. It's the understanding of self, which is what we build through personal development. There is the being loving of self, right? Which is the actions, the behavior that we do day to day to be self-loving. And then this aspect of self-acceptance, of saying like, all of me is welcome. All of me is worthy. I am whole, and this too belongs. And self-worth really is a direct measure of how you value and regard yourself, of course, in spite of what others say or do, maybe in spite of your capabilities, whatever spectrum they're on. You are worthy of and have, I think I might have cut out there a little bit, but, just really being worthy of your feelings and your experiences. And our goal always as humans is to really practice this duality of acknowledging, but also accepting ourselves fully. So whatever happens in our external world, or when our external circumstances change, we don't have this, we have an unshakable foundation of this worthiness piece. So learning to recognize your worth really holds power to just radically transform your life for the better. And as I mentioned before, I'm just going to put my phone on airplane mode here so it doesn't interrupt our internet. But this is a practice, of course. We are in life school, right? That's our whole point, is to just be here to learn. So some of the thoughts that I know that can go through our head on a regular basis is we have these feelings of not being good enough. Sometimes we think, why me? Why do these things happen to me? Or why aren't they happening to me? Why can't I have that opportunity? We can tend to get into comparison, which sometimes can lend itself to being jealous or envious of other people. Then we feel this unmistakable feeling of sort of like not being deserving, maybe of that. We feel unlucky as a result of not being deserving or not feeling deserving. Then we move through into blame, right? And then we feel shameful, and we experience so much rumination and emotion, and we don't know how to process it, or sometimes it's hard to process, and we become overwhelmed. Then we feel this sense of out of control. That can lead to things like anxiety and panic attacks. And all the while we're storing all of this emotional material in our body, and that can really create a lot of tension and pain. And then we move into full and total judgment of self. And this can be of the cognitive side, so like our capabilities in terms of our intelligence, but it can also be in the body. What are we capable? What is our body capable of or not capable of? And so let's dive into the emotional side of things a little bit, because tending to our emotional body is really, really, really important. And I wanted to go through these basic rights with you guys today because they're really, really important. So I'm just going to go ahead and read on the screen. I want to just remind you, you do not have to earn love and acceptance. You don't have to earn it through performance or accomplishments or achievements. You certainly do not have to earn it through your body. It's your birthright. You were born worthy. It is inherent within you. But what happens is it gets buried. right, over our experiences and the way that we feel about ourselves and how we compare ourselves to society and the societal conditioning that we have grown up with. This one is really hard to implement, but you do not have, nothing in your life needs to change before you're allowed to feel happy. You don't have to wait for like, X or Y or Z, before you celebrate your life, right? Which is hard. It's a hard thing to do. This is a really large component of what I teach and the things that I work with my clients on, but you are not responsible for other people's happiness. We're taught from a really young age that we are, through minor phrases like, you better not do that, daddy's going to get mad. Oh, you hurt mommy's feelings when you say that, right? We get taught through these minor little things that actually end up to be major influences on our life, on feeling like our actions and our words result in how other people feel. But that is not true. Other people's happiness is their responsibility and your happiness is yours. Loving yourself and prioritizing your emotional well-being, or what I often refer to as building your emotional intelligence, is not selfish and it's not bad. No matter what you think in your head, those thoughts are untrue. We've, again, just been really conditioned to feel like that is selfish and that selfishness is bad. It's actually the only way, the further into that practice that you go, it's the only way that you can actually show up with genuine unconditional love for those around you, because you cannot give what you don't have, right? We must embody what we wish to give to others. You don't have to, spend time explaining or justifying yourself to anybody, not your decisions, not your actions, not your feelings. It's not your job to make other people understand you or the things that you've decided to do in your life or do. It's actually the only person that deals with the repercussions of the decisions that you make for yourself in your life is you. So why would you let other people have, an influence or a say? And the largest example I can think of this is like, every time I've ever gone to my mom as an adult and I already knew what the answer was, but I just like needed her approval. So I asked her opinion. And then I didn't maybe follow through with my gut or my intuitive, pings about that. And then I'm left to deal with the aftermath of that, right? With whether that's the aftermath is internal about how I feel or an actual external thing. So really it's just meaning that, those other people that are giving you their opinions, they are dealing with your life. They're not dealing with your circumstances and they're not dealing with the, the repercussions of that. So really just come into your sovereignty in that way. And it's 100% safe to be yourself, like fully. The people that have really genuine, deep love for you and acceptance are going to love you no matter what. And I mean that including all of these things that you feel like are wrong with you, right? And that's another large component of what I go through with my clients, is really just coming to this space of digging into our mother wound and our father wound, which have, sort of like companion wounds with them of like abandonment and rejection and all these things, right? Where we don't feel safe to fully be ourselves because we've been rejected or because it's not been taught to us to be safe. So that of course takes time. The inner roommate is something that probably many are very aware of. I didn't make this up, but it is that like nonstop dialogue chatterbox that lives inside your head. It's this roommate that like you can never get away from, no matter what room you go to, that roommate is there. It never shuts up. And it's you who's talking, but it's also you who's listening to this voice, right? And when that voice starts to take up arguments in your head, who's it arguing with? You're really arguing with this aspect of what a lot of people, it's a very flashy term, but like it's your ego, right? And if you start to really observe this roommate that you take with you, everywhere, you're going to notice also that it will flip the switch really quick. Like it will change sides on you, if that feels like that's better. So my one example that I always use for this is like, I work out from home in my living room. Do you know how easy it is for me to be like, oh, but like I'm a little bit behind today, so like maybe I just won't do that workout. And then immediately the thought is, oh, you're lazy, or you're not doing enough today, or you're going to regret this. So then I make the decision to do it. And then the thought is like, oh, are you sure you want to? This is a lot of work, right? So it will always flip the script dependent on what it feels like it's going to help. And, think about this aspect of like, when it is proven wrong, does it really ever get quiet? Never. It just adjusts its viewpoint and then like keeps yammering on inside your head, right? And in order to find true growth, from this aspect of the inner roommate, it's really important to disassociate. You're not that voice, right? You're the one who hears it. And most of your life is really going to, and we're witnessing this, on a very large scale in the world right now, but most of our life is going to unfold in many ways beyond our control. And, whatever this is saying inside, it's not going to make a difference about what's happening on the external, right? And all of this is really just a large indicator that there's really this buildup internally of energy, right? This fearful, maybe desire-based, or lending itself to being a little bit more on the anxious side. It needs to be released, right? It's stuck. It's not moving. And so Michael Singer is an amazing author. He has some great books. And actually, I do have at the end, I have a resources page. So we'll go through that afterwards. But this is from his book, The Untethered Soul. And he says, you really do recreate the world within your mind because you can control your mind, right? Whereas you can't control the world. And if you can't get the world the way you like it, you internally verbalize it, you judge it, you complain about it, and then you decide what to do about it. And that's a sense of empowerment, right? This makes you feel empowered. And here's the thing. The entry point to growth is always awareness. No matter who I'm working with or what I'm doing, I'm always assessing the level of awareness and where can we implement growth in that? Because like I said, you can't give what you don't have, but you also can't change what you don't know. So what I want you guys to do right now before we step into this first energy practice, whether you're watching live or maybe you're watching on a playback later, I want you to just take a quick moment and just either jot down quickly, make a note in your phone, or just like bring to mind now and just pick the strongest one, whatever pops into your mind first. But what's a belief that inner roommate has really convinced you to believe? I'm just going to give you a moment to consider that. And you need to really zone in on that belief for this energy practice we're going to do. I'm going to help you clear it. So what has that inner voice really convinced you? You're not good enough. You're broken. It's never going to happen for you. You're not deserving, like any of those types of things, but just really zone in on a specific belief. And I'm just going to go ahead and get out of full screen here just quickly so that I can read the notes for this. So what we're going to do is an energy healing practice that I call sweeping. And it's just, we're going to clear ourselves of the energy behind the belief. So you can use this at any time. I would be happy to just share, there's a specific sort of mantra we're going to say, or I'm going to say for you today. I would be happy to share this with the girls, and the facility to share with you guys if that feels good. So we can do that at a later time. For today, I'm just going to read through it. And what I want you to do is really just repeat after me, either out loud if you're able to, or in your head. So what we're going to do is just come to this space of like just sitting up tall and just kind of regrounding ourselves. Maybe put your feet on the ground and you can place your hands on your lap in front of you, and palms up to receive. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to read through this sweeping exercise. I would ask you to just close your eyes and just listen to my voice and then repeat the phrases either out loud or in your head as you have your eyes closed. So bring to mind the belief that you just identified. And we're going to, every time I say blank, you're going to insert that belief in there, okay? So just go ahead and close your eyes, hands on your lap, palms up. And just take a deep breath. And then I actually want you to take your dominant hand and place it on your heart. So let's begin. Even though I have this blank, I know it's no longer working for me. And again, you're just repeating this as I say it. I give my subconscious full permission to help me clear it from all of my cells in all of my body permanently and completely. I am now free to thank it for serving me in the past. I am now free to release all resistances to letting it go. I am now free to release all ideas that I need this in order to stay safe. I am now free to release all ideas that I need the belief for any reason. I am now free to release all feelings that I don't deserve to release it. I am now free to relieve all conscious and subconscious causes for this belief. I am now free to release all conscious and subconscious reasons for holding on to it. I am now free to release all harmful patterns, emotions, and memories connected to it. I am now free to release all generational or past life energies keeping it stuck. All of my being is healing and clearing this energy now, including any stress response stored in my cells. Healing, healing, healing. Clearing, clearing, clearing. And you can just go ahead and take a really nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And then just whenever you feel ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. So this energy sweeping is to really just be a supportive, energetic practice for us to energy in the body, so that it's not stuck there, and causing us emotional distress, which actually leads to a lot of physical distress, which we're going to get into. I wanted to share another practice. This is one of the most powerful but basic ones that you can do, is to, I always just call it the red X practice. So what the process is that when this belief pops up, when these thoughts, when your inner roommate is on blast, it's having a party up in your head and it's not a good party. Well, it's having a good time, but you're not having a good time. And you can notice these thoughts, right? We're bringing awareness to these thoughts and you're like, wow, it's loud in there today. This is the process. I want you to picture a really large red X every single time that pops into your head. Anytime your inner roommate is really loud, you've got this observation now. You're like, wow, this is a lot. I am in my head today. It's loud in there. Red X, and kind of associate a sound with it. I always imagine like an air horn or like an error noise on a computer. And then replace it with a supportive affirmation. So again, this is really kind of like flashy in the spiritual world. They do really work. You can call them mantras, you can call them affirmations. But what we're doing is really forming new neural pathways in our brain. We have neuroplasticity. So what we believe is a habit, and we're going to form a new habit by continually repeating this process. And so an affirmation can really be a supportive statement for you that redirects from the negativity of the initial roommate chatter. So let's say, for example, your belief was that you're not good enough. Maybe a supportive affirmation for you right now could be, I am worthy of goodness. It can be whatever you want it to be, whatever feels, good for you, but it needs to be a really present tense statement with no negative components. So it can't be I'm going to try not to think negatively, because it's like saying, don't think about a purple elephant, and then you think about a purple elephant. The affirmation really has to be a very strong foundational piece that's like, no, I am worthy of goodness. I'm worthy of joy. I'm worthy of self-acceptance, right? Whatever you decide to choose. So that's a process. Red X, imagine this sound of an air horn or an error message on your computer, and then replace it. And you're going to do it over and over and over. And this one is really it takes time. It's like standing on the edge of a forest and you can see on one side there's a clear path. It leads right to this most beautiful body of water. And then there's another one on the left-hand side, and it's you're going to have to like kind of go in the bush, right? And you can see the path, but it's not very well worn. But that direction leads to the same body of water, but it also leads to a waterfall. it's like you're not going to want to take that hard path. You're going to probably be conditioned to take that easy path over and over. But the beauty on the other side of the hard path and wearing a new path, that's what you're doing in your brain by doing this exercise over and over. We also, the reason I wanted to help you guys clear some stuff today is because the energy in the body is a really large component of how we can process things, right? 90% of our energy day to day is actually being used to suppress emotions, which is a very large amount of our energy being wasted on something that it could be much more better used for. So we know we have thoughts, right? We know we have feelings from those thoughts. And we also know that those feelings and thoughts can actually really create physical reactions. And anybody who's ever experienced an anxiety attack or like a panic attack knows this to be very true. You think a thought, you have a feeling, the palms get sweaty, you start to get shaky, you feel that sinking gut feeling or whatever those physical symptoms are. We know this to be true. We can feel feelings in a very visceral, physical way. And when it comes to the painful or negative ones, these are really experienced in our body, right? And they can get stuck, right? Trapped in our body without proper emotional intelligence. So without an opportunity to understand ourselves and a practice to dig into that so that we can really release it energetically. And not really having this way or this practice to release the energy has a large impact on our physical health over time, because we will store trauma in the body, right? The more we have that buildup, the more physical reactions we're going to have. And this is what causes, from my perspective, it causes a lot of disease in the body. And the longer the negative emotions really stay in here, the lower our immunity becomes, right? And then over time, our physical body can really show this sense of disease and discomfort. So this is a really important part of what I work through, is just actually liberating not only your mind and your heart, but actually your body as well. So I'm not going to do this while we're on the session today, but I want to teach you this. This is a very easy practice. And the reason I love it so much is because there's no analyzing. You don't have to journal. You don't have to write anything down. It's just a really beautiful practice to do daily. And it's 5 minutes. I would really recommend doing this in the morning, but you can pick a time or you can do it whenever it fits into your schedule. So what you're going to do is there's this duality aspect of this exercise. And so the first component of it is really breathing deeply in and out through the nose. And what I want you to do when you're doing this is really, you're going to close your eyes, softly close your eyes, and you're going to breathe deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. And you're going to listen to the sound of your out breath. So when you exhale, I want you to make it audible. And really just tune into the sound of that. So that's the first thing. You're going to just practice a couple times. Maybe you take 3 or 5 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the nose, and just practice really listening to the sound of the exhalation. And then the secondary part of this, once you've done that, 3 or 5 breaths, you're going to come to do a body scan. So there's 4 places in our body that we store these negative emotions. One is the jaw, one is the throat, one is the chest, and one is the abdomen. And so you're going to do a body scan. You're going to go through and you're going to look for tension or tightness, any feelings of restriction, heaviness, just kind of that yucky, tight, tense, emotion, stuck energy feeling. And, you can move your jaw around a little bit. Does it feel like you want to, is it tense? Is it tight? Feel into your throat a little bit. Does it feel like there's a frog there? Does it feel restricted? Does it feel like there's maybe a bubble there? And then feel into your chest. How is it when you take a breath? Does the breath come easy? Do you feel tightness there? Do you feel a little bit of restriction? And then come into your abdomen. Is there that anxious feeling? Does that feel restrictive? Does it feel heavy in your gut? And then I want you to just pick one of those areas that you feel really drawn to, that's like quite, has a high level of that sensation that we're looking for. And then you're going to couple the 2 of those together. So the practice is you're going to come to sitting comfortably, again, palms up on your lap, close your eyes, deeply breathe through the nose and the mouth, deeply breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, concentrating on the sound of your out breath and zoning into the sensation of that area that you've just identified. So you're simultaneously bringing awareness to your sensation, but you're also bringing awareness to the sound of the out breath. The point of the out breath is, it's actually a Buddhist technique. It's going to bring you into your body. So we really, we don't want to go out there. We're already too much, you know, in here. So we're going to come back into the body. It's going to ground us down. It's going to recenter our energy. And then concentrating on the sensation is just like saying, hey, there's something going on there. I'm not going to name it. Like, we're not looking to name it. We're not trying to analyze. We're not trying to do any of that stuff. We're just really trying to go sit on the bench next to it. We're going to just say, hey, I see you there. I know you're there, and I'm going to liberate you. I'm going to help you liberate. Sometimes you'll feel that tension dissipate. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes it will move from one area to the other. There's no right, there's no wrong. And we're not trying to, like I said, name or identify what the emotion is, why it's there, where it came from. It's simply just bringing awareness to that energetic storage of those negative or kind of gross feeling emotions of where they get stuck in our body. Okay, so surfing your emotions is such a beautiful practice to just really get quiet with yourself, come into your body a little bit and get out of your head. And if you get distracted, just come back to that breath, the listening to the breath, and the zoning into the sensation. Okay, so that's one of the ones that I always teach to all of my clients. I think it's just such a beautiful practice. And then, of course, all of this emotional stuff that we go through in life, whether it's specific to, you know, fertility or otherwise, this will obviously affect our relationships, right? It seeps into those things. And it can become really easy to feel disconnected, you know, from a partner or from, you know, even friends or other people in life when emotions are really high, especially when hormones are elevated. And there's this sense of sort of like fear, right? Or anxiety. When those things are present, this is really easy for us to shift into blame. We gonna get into what I always call the short and spicy syndrome, where I'm like, I give you a quick answer and it is spicy, right? And I'm like, oh, I know I'm kind of being you know, not nice right now. But the short and spicy syndrome, that's so easy to move into when our hormones are elevated, when our emotions are high, when we have this fear of not getting something that we want, right? We're not fulfilling a desire. Sometimes I know this one's really true for I keep saying it told me I had an internet connection issue. But this one's really present for me is oftentimes I'll realize that I'm withholding love and affection, right? Like I'm closed off. My heart's not open. I'm closed. And oftentimes too, heightened irritation, of course. And this roommate in our head is like this annoying third wheel, right? And it creates all these stories about really what I would always refer to as our wounds, right? So they go on blast. These are our insecurities and our fears and our anxieties. And they go on blast whenever we feel maybe that it's like we're not being accepted for who we are, what we're going through, when we don't feel safe, when we're, you know, not feeling loved, when we feel isolated or lonely, you know, all of those things will go on blast. And the inner roommate is like, time to party. I'm going to tell you all the things, right? And you know what I'm talking about. These are the stories that you like make up in your mind where, they don't actually happen, but if they do, you know exactly what you're going to say in response to what they'd say. And when they say this, you know exactly what you're going to say to that, right? And your comeback's so good. You're like, just say it to me so I can tell you this comeback, right? You know what I'm talking about. But instead of really living in the story, we can really use this actually as a communication tool in our relationships. And it really helps with two things. It helps with letting go of blame or letting go of placing blame on another person. And it also allows us to take deeper accountability. So if you've created this scenario in your mind and you know that it's not factual, it's not a real circumstance, this is not true, and you can fact check it. Do I know for certain this to be true? Most of the time it's like, no, I made this up in my head, right? Then you can recognize there's an opportunity here for you to really get vulnerable using that story. So Brene Brown is a you know, kind of a large proponent of this. Her TED Talk is about this. It's in her books, but she uses the phrase all the time. You know, the story I've been telling myself, right, is that you don't care because you didn't unload the dishwasher today. Or the story I've been telling myself is that you don't care about my feelings and you have no idea what I'm going through and this is just easy for you, right? Or I've been running a story in my head about how you don't think that I'm attractive anymore. Use that as a communication tool. It's so much easier to share your feelings in that way, and you don't place blame. You know, you're not acting from this resentment space, you know, for feelings that just really never happen, right? Or sorry, events that really never happen. So it's this sense of taking accountability. The story I've been telling myself, right? The story that's been running in my mind is this. So instead of it saying, you did this, you made me feel this way, which we talked about earlier, nobody makes you feel any type of way. you feel your feelings based on your internal state. So this is an awesome, like, double exposure to taking accountability and really getting out of blame, so you can maneuver through your relationship a little bit easier. So zoning into the, I want to just be mindful of time here too, but just zoning into the physical body, of course, when we go through hard stuff, it's really easy to blame and shame our physical body. And it's one of those things, especially as women, that we compare a lot to other people, you know, and especially in regards to our preference, right? Our preference of what we should be capable of, our preference of, you know, what we should be doing in our life, or the comparison of ourself against another. And sometimes this can really, often it can lend us to be really desiring to be something else, you know, thinner, less in pain, more in shape, do more, withhold, you know, more. So I shouldn't be emotionally laboring over this or whatever. And when our body doesn't perform, you know, to our preference, we start to disconnect from it. And we want it to change. We wish it was more like X or more like Y, and we want it to do what we want. And when it doesn't, we dislike it and we disown it as if it's broken. It's unworthy of our love and acceptance, right? But this is where we're called to practice embodiment, right? We're being invited to really come back into worship of this amazing vessel of life that we've been given. You know, we come back into love, you know, for and toward the body over and over and over. Right? And this is what I wanted to talk about in terms of balancing of the energy centers. So we have 8 energy centers in our body, and over time they become misaligned, right? With us storing the energy in our body, our experiences, whatever. And the energetic flow between them can really be disrupted, which disrupts our natural ability to move the energy within, right? And this really affects how we use our personal energy, and then also how our personal energy interacts with energy and external things. So Joe Dispenza has an amazing meditation for this. You can go and buy it. It's like $20 from his website. You can go here, which again, like I said, I'm happy to share with Fertility Matters, so they can share this resources page with you at the end. But you can go, it's called The Blessing of the Energy Centers Meditation. It's about 45 minutes. Do not feel like you have to know how to meditate. If you've never done it before, it's fine. He guides you through everything, and it's just a visualization tool. But it's an amazing energetic practice and meditation to really align the energy centers so that we can restore that flow, right? And kind of practice being with our body instead of wanting to be kind of disassociated from it. And, you know, just one of the practices that's come into my awareness over the last little while is just really understanding and starting to bring awareness to where our feminine power comes from, you know, like placing your hands on your womb, you know, and really thinking about the power and the energy that's flowing through that area. You know, how much wisdom is in our cycles, that the cycles that we move through, right? And the things that it goes through day to day, you know, and thank it, really truly find a place of gratitude for all of the work that it's doing, you know, in each moment. And it is that simple. It's not that easy, of course. But if you haven't, or maybe you have done this before, but this is a really great consistent practice to really just imagine the power and the strength and this ancient wisdom. You know, the divine feminine and our feminine abilities have been around forever. There is so much ancient wisdom, you know, beneath your hands when you place them on your abdomen. So really take some time to do that and think about the movement of what's happening in that area and the power that it has and the intelligence that it has, and really practice being with your body. There is an amazing practice, which again, at the end with the resources page, her name is Megan Watterson. I learned this practice from her. She's a theologist and, you know, knows a lot about the divine feminine of Mary Magdalene. And, you know, Mary Magdalene really was the representation of new life, you know, renewal and awakening. And she really comes into your self-worth and your body and your sexuality. So one of the other practices you can do to really like connect with the womb, and this is not just even for fertility in the literal sense. This is actually for, you know, a lot of other things as well. Just simply getting into your divine femininity. So what you'll do is you're going to lay comfortably with one hand on your heart and the other hand on your womb, and just call into Mary Magdalene, you know, and you don't have to be religious or believe in anything to do this. Just believe in what that represents, this renewal and new life and sexuality and the body and this really, you know, deep piece of self-worth. Just call upon that, you know, and ask it to be present with you and move into your body. And then you imagine this sort of like red, golden infinity symbol that connects from your heart all the way to your pelvis. And imagine this light sort of flowing in this figure 8 movement from the heart to the womb and back. And as it flows up, your heart opens more, and it flows down. Your sacred feminine power is ignited and worshiped. And while you're doing this, you know, and you do it for however long you feel called. Sometimes it might be 2 minutes, sometimes it might be 10. It's whatever you feel in that moment. Really just go into saying thank you. You know, say thank you to your body, to your internal power, to the wisdom that you don't really fully maybe understand, but that is within you. So that's another beautiful practice that you can use in terms of energy to really get through the wisdom and the power of that divine femininity. I've also reached out to my mentor, who I'm training under right now, to become a medicine woman. She's a shaman. She's amazing. She actually has a free womb healing session on her website, and she said that it would be really beautiful for me to share that. So you can just go onto her website, leannashanti.com, or programs.leannashanti.com, free womb healing ceremony. And it's about 45 minutes and it's beautiful. I've done it. And the last time I did it was in the fall, in September. And it awoke a desire actually to have kids in me that I didn't really think I had. So there's some beauty in there. There's some magic. It's energy. And she is brilliant and just very, very connected to light and magic and you know, just this higher sense of that. So check that out if you really want a guided one, and those visualization ones that I just mentioned aren't working for you. This would be a beautiful one to go and try. And obviously the external body gets a really bad rep, right? We get a lot of time, you know, kind of less worry based on the comparisons that we go through in our bodies. So we don't feel like, you know, oh, why do I, or we sometimes we'll be like, well, why do others have it so easy, right? Or I'm not attractive enough, I just can't win. You know, if I continue on this path, then I also have to accept this new body, right? Which can be a lot of feelings of rejection and anger and resentment. It can really encourage a habit of like comforting through food, or actually like sort of limiting it as a way of punishing. And so now what we've got is this duality between our body not being right or feeling right internally, and we dislike it externally. And like I said at the bottom of the slide here, love has literally left the building, right? How do we create from love when there's no love present? So just really take good care of yourself, right? This is an act of love that is a practice. This is what I mean about it being a life school. You know, we're here to really, life is happening for us. It's not happening to us, even though it feels that way. And so, you know, having these practices for yourself of taking good care, you know, on all the ways, the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the energy, you right, as well as whatever it is that you believe spiritually. This is really important, right? This is an act of love. Nourishing your body is an act of love, right? Aligning your actions daily with your priorities is an act of love. So really what we're doing is we're kind of cultivating self-discipline. And, you know, I'm just going to kind of go through this briefly because there's a lot to unpack here, but really what self-worth is when you have self-worth, it means you feel like you're worthy of good things, right? It means that even with the difficulties you face or the disappointments you experience, you know, or people's opinions, you are worthy, innately worthy within. It means that, you know, we have to work towards accepting these flaws or these perceived weaknesses that we have or limitations in our life, and realize the true value of who we are in the present moment, right? And you alone are the most significant factor in how you feel about yourself, right? In your life and about your circumstances. And this is really where our personal power comes from. And I know it's hard. I've been through my own journey. We all have, right? And just really feeling not defined about or not defined by our external stuff is really hard, right? Not by our looks or our status, our relationship, our income, our abilities, all of those things, right? Nothing outside of ourselves should get to dictate how we feel about ourselves, right? Our influence alone is really the only one that matters, but we don't get taught that from a really young age. So we come into adulthood and we really have to try and find this. And again, this is another one of my favorite books, but worthiness is not some state of attainment, but the ongoing willingness to really meet life squarely. Worthiness is the ability to say, I'm up for this. I am equal to life. So what I want you to just take into consideration, you know, as you're watching this is like, what do you have of value without those external identifiers? You know, not your job, not maybe you are a parent already, or you want to be one, or maybe you're a sister, you're a partner, you're a best friend. Without all of those external identifiers, what characteristics do you possess inside that are of value? What do you have in here? That's what matters, right? What's in here? So what do you have? What's your value in here? What are the characteristics that you possess inside? Those will never change by anything external. They are yours. You are born with them, and it's your magic. So the spiritual side of self is very individual. So that's why I left it to the end. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, because whatever your belief is, you can just go from there. For me, spirituality really is, you know, the connection I have to divinity, of the things I'm deeply moved by. So I'm moved by the earth. I'm moved by the animals. I'm moved by souls and deep conversations. I'm moved by the stars and the cosmos, and I love astrology, right? And I'm moved by my internal spirit and my connection to that, right? It's this knowing of greatness in things that we can't see or touch. It's the magic all around us, right? And it's the magic within. And it's a practice really of kind of unearthing, right, our individual magic, and then sharing it with open hearts, right, and open souls, with the people that we care about, right, so that we can really come into authenticity, you know, live out our uniqueness. You know, everyone and everything is magic, right? Energy is moving through and flowing between and beneath what is visible to the naked eye. And we can really be left to kind of question that, right? Why me? Why am I not chosen? You know, or why has that person been chosen? Am I broken? Am I not deemed worthy? You know, I'm being punished for? You know, are you not listening? You know, whoever it is that you speak to, or maybe you don't speak to anybody, you know, are you not listening to what I'm asking for? You know, it's just this sense of like, why me? Why am I being put through this? And all of this really can separate us from our magic and the magic of the universe, right? And we have to really do our best to remember that these things are just thoughts, and we should not believe everything that we think, right? That inner roommate is not the truth. It's just like a weird third wheel that we don't like and we want to get rid of. So coming into full acceptance really does mean integrating all of these parts, right? And finding our wholeness, because you were born with it. You were born whole. It's your birthright. You don't have to earn it, right? You're deserving of love and acceptance right now as you're listening to me speak, right now as you're watching this session. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to ask for it. It already exists within you, but you have to make the courageous choice to really embrace that wholeness and embrace the fact that these things that are outside of yourself are not the definers for you. Your true value lies within. It's in here, right? And so we do this by practicing self-love elements, right? Like kindness for ourselves or toward ourselves and to others. Tolerance. Here's where I'm at today. I'm working on it. I'm doing the best that I can, right? Tolerance of that. Generosity, right? Compassion for ourselves. And compassion really has to come through these acts of self-love. To be loving of the self has to include compassion. And where we get compassion from is this aspect of self-acceptance. And where that stems from is self-understanding. So again, the entry point is always awareness. Bringing into your life a large awareness of self-understanding, building your emotional intelligence so you can move through to self-acceptance, which is the love of self and includes compassion. And it is a full circle. And you're probably thinking, cool, Riley, how the hell do I do this? It's not easy. And like I said, it is that simple, but it's not easy. And it's a choice we have to make, over and over for ourselves. And this is the school of life. So I want to just open you up to the three things that I always remind myself of, the three things that I kind of live my life by. There are no punishments. There's only lessons. So I constantly ask myself, what am I being shown here? If I go deeper, what am I being shown here? If I go deeper, is there something I could learn? You know, and then this aspect of life is happening for me, right? For my growth. So what is this experience trying to teach me? What growth opportunity am I being shown right now? And I always say to myself, okay, Riley, you always have a choice. I know it's so easy to feel like we don't have a choice, but we can't control anything outside of ourselves. The only thing we have ability to control is ourselves. So the choice that I'm speaking to always lies within, right? So for me, it's like, if I could choose a different reaction, how could that change my life? Where is the choice? Where does the choice lie? And, you know, if you're looking into more resources, and I do want to leave some time for, you know, questions if there are people on who want to ask, or just in general, open up conversation. So we'll go through these resources. And like I said, I'm happy to share this with you guys to pass on to anybody who's viewing, or you can, you know, just link the text below or whatever you choose to do. But The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer are both beautiful, beautiful books. The Untethered Soul is all about the inner roommate and learning to become an observer of your life and witness the inner roommate. The Surrender Experiment is this beautiful aspect of really surrendering to life and what's happening for you without judgment, and removing that judgment, and really just opening up to the beauty that is trying to be created around you, right? And letting go of our preferences. So of course, that practice is hard, but it's a beautiful book. Belonging by Toko Pa Turner. She's amazing. I have the book right here. It is one of my absolute favorites. I have multiple bookmarks. It is highlighted all throughout it. It is such an amazing book, really about coming into belonging, you know, and all these aspects that really disconnect us. And then, as I mentioned, Megan Watterson, she really is more on the theology side of things, but she has some really beautiful resources for that kind of stuff. And there is another woman actually that I listened to on a podcast the other day, that maybe what I'll do is I'll share with Kelly and with Fertility Matters, and they can pass the info along. But she is she does a lot of work in around fertility, just specifically, and she's Canadian. So, and then there's the free womb healing that I mentioned before. So there's the link there, programs.lianashanti.com, free womb healing ceremony. And then just for, if you are more of a listener, I don't have a specific one to recommend, but the Zura Health podcast is a really, really well-rounded podcast with a lot of varying topics that really mesh through, you know, sort of this Western and Eastern aspect of things, and come through to more, you know, an aspect of holistic health. So those are really beautiful resources for anybody to check out who wants to dig into a little bit more about all the concepts that we talked about today. Really just kind of have these supportive tools for them to work through. I would really encourage you to do the womb healing, whether or not you are actually moving through to, you know, on a fertility treatment right now, or it's something that, you know, you've, you know, taken a break from, or whatever. It doesn't really matter where you're at. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice, and it really does connect you to the power within. So that's all I have for you guys today. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here so that we can open up chat if we want to. And yeah, I mean, obviously this is a very individualistic thing, right? So I really wanted to come at it from a general sense. I am 100% open to conversations. I'm very active on my social media. So if anybody has any questions or wants direct links to some other sources of safe support, then you know, obviously I'm happy to provide that. So, and thanks so much to Kelly for inviting me here. I really think that it's important for all of us to really embody this and have this as a life practice in whatever way. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Really truly accepting ourselves is how we create freedom and liberation from feeling so stuck and held back in so many areas. And the more people that I can share that message with, and the more people that can, you know, come through to maybe feeling encouraged to that healing route, the better. So thank you so much for inviting me, and for just thanking me and welcoming me into your community. It's been so awesome to just get to know you a little bit better and come into this space. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. There was something very, very powerful that you said that I actually wrote down on my piece of paper, and I wrote it in like big letters. And it's something so simple, but I think so many of us forget it. And it's self-care isn't selfish. That is so powerful. And I think there's so many aspects of that. I think of me when I sit down and try to just take some time for me, what goes through my head is, oh my God, but I didn't start the laundry, or the dishwasher needs to be unloaded, and it's all those thoughts going through our heads. So there's that side, but then there's also, let's say, people who already have children that are like, you know what? No, I should probably deal with the kids, do this, do that, get lunches ready. 5 minutes, go into a room, quiet your mind, 5 minutes. Self-care is not selfish. So that I wrote in like big letters. I'm like, Kelly, remember this.
Well,
so
and I
thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. And I think that what a lot of people use the term selfish for, actually what they're thinking of is being self-centered. So this aspect of, it is only ever about me. Nobody else is important. Nobody else gets my time. I'm the only one with the importance. Everything is about me. I get to do what I want, when I want, how I want it. That's not what I'm talking about. Selfish is saying, I am a priority and I deserve to be as much of a priority as the other things in my life, whether that's kids or partners or work or community service, or like whatever those things are that are important for you. Being selfish is so healthy, because you're saying, I get to be a priority. I am a priority to me too. And the more that you get to practice that, of course, everybody's schedule is different, but the more that you get to practice that, the more you are able to really give, right? More of your heart, more of your soul, more of your time and actual presence, you know, where you're not distracted by a bunch of things, because you take care of you, you know, first, or you've been taking care of yourself, right? For me, I always say morning practices because that's my favorite time, but I also have the luxury of being able to do that in the morning. So if it's better at night for people, great, do that. But that selfishness, I think we think of that term, but I think what we're actually referring to is self-centered. And we don't want to go into self-centeredness where nobody else is a priority, but we also want to recognize that our worthiness is that we are a priority as well.
Yeah, and you know what, very good point. You know what, a practice is better than no practice. If morning is not the best time for you, afternoon, evening, if you're shift work or middle of the night, like whatever, a practice is better than no practice at all. So very
absolutely.
important.
And even, I was just gonna say, even if you have like 3 minutes in the morning when you're like drinking a half a cup of coffee before you have to get things going, like one of my favorite things is just like every sip of coffee is something else you're grateful for. Because that is a practice too. Like it doesn't have to be this 45-minute meditation where you're like, you know, chanting and like doing yoga. Like it doesn't have to be like that, right? We can practice in so many different ways, and it has to be what's right for you.
Coffee goes in my gratitude journal a lot.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I always joke and say, like, if the first sip that you take of every day and the first piece of gratitude is that you're grateful for that sip of coffee, then that's fine.
Go for it. Go for it. I just want to read one comment quick that was on Facebook here. It says, Riley, this was awesome. I've been feeling disconnected from my body lately, and this has been so beautiful and helpful, just what I needed. So
good.
I thought that was powerful.
Yes, so, and I'll share those resources with you, Kelly, if you want to go ahead and pass them along. I'll maybe just copy the text and send it to you so that you can either send it out via email or post it in the Facebook, because there is some really beautiful support out there, you know, that you can get that may be a little different than what you've been doing, or just a really different approach that might, you never know what's going to work for you, right? So just being open, it is super important. So
yeah, well, that womb, I did make a note, that womb healing session, I will post the link for that in the Facebook Live comment section. So yes, I will definitely do that. And the sweeping exercise, thank you. That was so cool. That was awesome as well. I really, really liked that. So everything was so lovely.
Yeah, I'll send you the verbiage for that as well, so that people can write it down. It's a really long one. So, I mean, I don't have it memorized. Whenever I do it for myself, I'm reading out loud. So I'm not closing my eyes, but what I'll do is I'll read the statement, I'll close my eyes and do it. And so I'll include that for you so that you can pass that along if you want to continue to do that. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, let me just refresh one more time. I don't see any questions in Zoom. Let me just check Facebook one more time here. No questions. That was so lovely. Thank you, Riley, so much for your time today. That was incredible. For anybody watching Facebook Live, after the fact. Riley's contact information, her website is in the event itself if you do want to connect with Riley. Thank you so much, Riley, for joining us today. We appreciate it, and have an amazing rest of your day.